I'm yelling out money, anything, ayy. Ooh, got the foot on the gas, pedal to the metal when I'm get to the bag, ayy. Got the foot on the gas, pedal to the metal when the lane moving fast, ayy. Ayy, let them all cross. If they hate, then let them hate and make a bigger boss, ayy.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Podcast, the top podcast in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines. But most importantly, you guys, provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. This is your first time tuning in. Welcome. This is the real side of freight, ladies and gentlemen. And I do say that before every single show. And what I mean by that is I only speak with transportation professionals, because at the end of the day, I want to talk to the right individuals who have done what you're looking to do or who are currently doing what you're trying to achieve. So you can take that information, apply it, utilize it, and see a meaningful difference in your business and your life. Happy Thursday, everybody. I got a very special guest. I'm going to bring him up here in just a minute, because we're going to be talking about, like, how do you actually make money with your assets when they're just sitting there, sitting empty in your yard, everything else. Like, I think that's the one big thing as a business owner is you have such a heavy capital investment into equipment, property, and everything else. And now with, advancements in technology and other resources, there's ways for you to go out there and generate revenue with that. So it's not just sitting there on your lot. But before we jump in to talk about any of that stuff, you guys, you know what we got to do. It's This Week in Freight, powered by my friends over at DAT. If you want your lane broken down on this show, you guys, all I need you to do is email my team, podcast@thefreightcoach.com. I need a shipping city, delivery city, and trailer type. We do dry van, reefer, and flatbed. And most importantly, you guys, all I am here to do is help you guys read the lanes, right? We got to find that stability out there in the market. So today's flatbed, we got Bakersfield, California to Boise, Idaho. As you can see, there was an exponential spike in this rate. And, with one of these things, and again, like us being such a heavy flatbed broker out there, we move a lot of freight out of this geographic area. So this was even fuel back in March. We started seeing tightening in capacity in about around February. And a lot of it had to do with what the state of California did by removing like some 14,000 CDLs from the market at that time. And it kind of hasn't recovered out there from a consistency standpoint. And this aligns with the data, right? You're seeing this, and then there's that massive spike in April. And that aligns with everything that we've seen out of the Southwest here, primarily going up into the Wyoming, Montana, Idaho region. There's just a lot of deadhead that is incorporated with that to come out of there. There's not a ton of freight even in the Boise market. A lot of them are going to have to deadhead out of there to get any freight. You got to bake that into your head haul pricing when you're going out there and covering any of that freight. And you can see it right now. I mean, it's up to $4,500 on 800 miles. So that's quite a good rate per mile average out there. But if you break out the operating costs, they're higher out in California. I mean, diesel, depending on where you're filling up, it's like some $7 a gallon and stuff like that. So it looks like a great paper rate, but when you remove operating expenses, there's a big chunk of their profits that are taken out at that time. And, again, so it's like when you're reading these markets, you guys, you got to be very aware of where this freight is heading into. And then what is that deadhead looking like to come out of that market? Because you see, if you've moved freight out west, Bakersfield is a pretty big area for moving freight. Boise, that's a recognizable city name. You'd think, oh, this can't be that bad for capacity, but you got to look at that outbound market. All right. So going into Boise, like I had mentioned, they could be sitting for 2 days, 3 days if they don't want a deadhead before they find a load. And it depends. It might be putting them into a market that they don't even want to go into, but they have to just to get out of Boise. So those costs are all factored in, especially right now, because right now is prime flatbed season, you guys. This is the busiest time of year to be moving anything via flatbed, step deck, Conestoga. I think this lane, we're looking at, 4,400 right now on 800 miles. I wouldn't be surprised if you see a 5 in front of that by next month. And I'm not even saying that to joke and have you guys price your way out of it. I'm just being very, very blunt. This lane in particular and other lanes out of this area are only going to get more expensive. Okay. We have just seen a lot of our carriers that were running out into the Southwest have stopped running into the Southwest, primarily due to fuel, right? Like they can get a very solid rate per mile in the Midwest. So they're not sending their trucks out west anymore when it's like up to $2 a gallon more to fill up their trucks, right? You need to take all of this information and explain this into your customers. All right. If you haven't had this conversation before, you got to lay it out there, you guys. There's no easy way to tell people that unless they're willing to pay a little bit more money right now, their freight might be sitting. There's no easy way to tell them, but it needs to be said because like this is going to get worse for flatbeds here coming up. All right. I'm not trying to fearmonger at the end of the day, but this lane is going to go up. You got to look at the outbound markets more than anything right now. Okay. Where is your loads heading into? And if there is any amount of deadhead that they are going to have to come out of there to find a load, it's going to be higher than what you're seeing right now. Okay. Pay attention to that as you're going in. And if you have first come, first serve, no tarps, you're going to be in a little bit better position. But the more requirements to haul your customers' freight, the higher the rate is going to be presented to you. I'm not saying you're not going to settle on less than what they're looking for, but that is just the name of the game right now in the markets, primarily in the flatbeds, especially out here in the Southwest. But that lane is Bakersfield, California to Boise, Idaho. I'd love to sit here and tell you guys, oh, it's going to be stable. I think it's going to get more expensive. So that is going to be it for this. And again, if you guys want your lane broken down on the show, email my team, podcast@thefreightcoach.com. We break it down 3 days a week. Now, instead of talking about losing money, let's talk about how we can make money out there, especially if you own trucks. So I got my good friend, Todd Waldron, back on the show now with REPOWR. Todd, thank you so much for jumping on here today.
Yes. Hello. Good morning. It's great to be here, man. Always a pleasure.
Dude, it's I should have had you up there breaking down the lane for me. You've seen a lot of this stuff in the past, right? And it's like right now more than ever, it's more of like I always look at like the brokerage is pretty simple to me, man. The person with the truck is going to win at the end of the day, especially right now. And sometimes, man, like the rates are just the rates, and you can be off. Man, there's some lanes that we're moving right now that we quote with such confidence, and then the day of pickup comes up and we're like, fuck, we made $50 on that. Sweet. Yep. We were off.
Yeah. Well, it's different today though. It's like this new era of now it's the person with the truck that is safe, that is honest, that is not fraudulent, it is the one who wins. And it's like we've entered this whole new flex where not that we didn't used to have security protocols or whatever, but it was a lot more the person with the truck wins and so much less of a focus on that. So that's just like compounding what's happening. But yeah, it's been wild times.
No, it has. But, you know, I also, no matter, there's always going to be something though, right? Like, and that's my biggest problem with what I see out all over social media. Most importantly is I'm just like, you guys, there's always going to be something, right? Like, unfortunately, Todd and I are old enough now to realize that like this isn't an isolated event. Like if it's not this, it's going to be something else, right? And there's always something that can stop you from moving forward and progressing. But it also forces you to look at like what are some alternative revenue streams that you can bring in to your business, right? Like whether it's going out there and maybe you were just a flatbed broker or just a reefer broker, and now you're like, hey, we got to go after anything full truckload right now because we got to get revenue coming in, and then. You look at the operating costs for trucking companies out there. And I mean, now that you're out there, I mean, how many people are sitting with assets just in their yard right now? They can't seat the driver. They don't know when they're going to get another driver on staff. And they're like, we're paying this loan every single month for this piece of equipment. Now it's like, I mean, how much is going on out there, do you think?
Yeah, there's a lot of that. And so there's twofold, as we look at a REPOWR, there's kind of twofold benefits to someone who's supplying in the marketplace, the trailer marketplace. But you have, large fleet typically sees 10 to 15% idle days. So you assume $12 to $15 a day. That's $400 to $1,000 per trailer per year in idle trailers, right? You also see fleets that are often trying to balance their networks to support their customer demand. And so as your networks get imbalanced, you have empty miles, 10 to 12% annual empty miles to relocate available capacity to where you need it. So you're looking at another $2,400 per trailer per year potentially in just relocation costs. And so we see this benefit where now this effort to really focus on optimizing this last unoptimized asset in the industry, the trailer, we see so much benefit. I mean, you get potentially $2 to $3 million annual cost savings and or revenue benefit from utilizing something like REPOWR, where instead of paying and incurring the cost to relocate a trailer, you're actually getting paid as people use those trailers to relocate them to where you need them. And so you're able to to do twofold, which is take the unutilized or different types of equipment you might not be using as much and actually gain revenue on them, right?
So, I mean, you've been on the asset side of things in the past, and you've worked a lot of accounts that require drop trailer and everything like that. Is that one of those things where, I mean, these are these trucking companies paying their own drivers? Are they just running empty to reposition 15 trailers in certain markets to like just fill that customer demand out there? How much of that is like just a commonplace out there, and they've just always done it because there's never been like an alternative for that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's so challenged, right? We know how volatile shipments demand are, right? We know that a customer sets us up for a trailer pool of X and X loads per week, but we know that that's not the reality when we get tendered the loads on average 48 hours in advance, but some potentially longer. But as you try to build your network of trucks and drivers and where you're going to have them for head hauls and back hauls, and then to add in the complexity of the trailer pool management, it's like things get out of whack so quickly, right? Because I got a load for customer A that's going to location B, and I've planned on other assets in that place. But now I don't have assets in location C that I thought I might be sending them to. And so, yeah, there's a constant, we see that constantly. There's deadhead miles trying to relocate capacity where either internally they're utilizing trucks or they're actually utilizing brokers to move and paying brokers to move them as a shipment. And they might add a shipment to it or just deadhead it. And you're incurring that cost because you want to service your customer, right? And you need to make sure that you have the trailers they need in the given market. How
does this tie in? Because I've had a lot of people on the show who own fleets, and on the maintenance side of things, I have some good friends with Cold Train Roadside, and they do like mobile fleet maintenance and stuff like that.
Yeah.
How much of a risk do a lot of these fleets incur by having these? I mean, because I would assume if they're in a drop trailer yard for a couple of, nobody's checking on them, right? I can't prove that, but I would just assume there's not a maintenance schedule that's going on. They're sitting there. You never know what could happen. Something breaks just, in that time frame. And then they go in to grab that trailer and it's not done. So it's like, does this lead to added maintenance costs into their fleet because nobody is actually monitoring these things because they are sitting for an extended period?
Yeah, I don't have a good handle on that yet. That's a good question. I would say yes. The counter argument to that is that there's maintenance risk in actually having them moving and on the road, right? And so I think that is a benefit of keeping them active, keeping them used in good service condition, as well as ensuring you have more checkpoints because we have a full pre-check assessment with imagery and pictures. So now you have a new checkpoint as well to ensure that things are in good working order, rather than trailers out in some yard that you don't know when they go visit or see, right? Like to your point. And then we've really invested heavily over the last 12 months to 2 years in the security side of things, both with integrations with highway and then integrations with gen logs, in order to ensure that we know who has the trailer at all points of the transaction or of the move and in transit, because we know that's the important component. And so, yes, I think there certainly is a benefit to that. And then the work we've done to counteract the contrary opposition of the cons really helps balance those scales so they can actually achieve the benefit that you mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, that was gonna be my next question on this, right? It's like, how do you stop theft, minimize theft? I'm never gonna say stop anything because that's a tough one. But it's like, you look at, I mean, how easy is it? And you see this all the time, right? Like people stop at they go unhook their truck at a rest area, go to a local Walmart or something like that to get supplies. By the time they come back, the trailer's gone. How is that? Like, how in-depth is that? So you guys are able to track that piece of equipment? Because if I own trailers, that would be my biggest question for you, right? Is how do you ensure that my trailer, whoever's moving that, is up to speed and that they're going to keep it safe?
Yep. Yeah. Great question. And so one, you have that approval process on the front end. And so, about a year ago or so, we DNU'd a number of carriers as we implemented the highway approach to ensure that the carriers were legitimate and we were who was saying they are who they were saying they were to book the trailer, right? So that's the starting process. The secondary is GenLogs integration, so that you can get a ping every time that trailer's seen on the road of who the carrier that is hauling it is. So that's a huge added benefit to not only remind or to reiterate that the right person has it, but then in the instance of someone stealing it from that person, you can also help track it down from that standpoint. And so that, I think, is, two of the ways that you can help manage that, as well as what are the expectations and having a clear process of expectations for the driver, right? Does it need to be in a secured yard? Where do they need to drop it? And so that they're not just leaving it willy-nilly anywhere. There's actually clear and specific guidelines as to where what's expected of them while they're renting and utilizing this trailer, and where it's got to end up and be from that perspective.
So is it like a two-pronged thing where there's different repositions that are out there, like, hey, we need this in this market by this day, or hey, you can use this one, rent it from us, something like that? Kind of walk me through those multiple different options out there.
Yeah, that's a great great question. So there's kind of that repositioning component where it's, hey, we need to get this asset over here, or we need to get this asset over here, and we post that as a listing, and can have a certain rental fee for it. So like the person who's utilizing it would rent it, and you actually generate revenue. So that's benefit A in the ideal goal. But then in the instance where it might be more time sensitive, and or I'm at that point where I just have to move it, then we have the option to actually pay someone to utilize it, and or get brokers. So we have partner brokers where we can do a load away solution. We're actually, instilling and encouraging those brokers to take those loads, and we'll pay them X amount. So it's like this service fail option, or to ensure that the trailer gets moved at all costs, basically. So there's this tiered approach. On the demand side, then it's like, hey, carriers who have short-term rental needs, like they might go out and rent trailers or get stuck in a long-term lease, where we help really support a lot of different surges or unknowns there, so they can rent without little constraints or little contracts. So they don't have to commit to multiple years or to a longer period of time. They can kind of balance surges if they have equipment that's out of service, trailers that are damaged, or things that are getting are in the shop, and they're turning down loads. Well, now this is a solution to be able to keep servicing those customers. Or if they're switching modes, maybe they want to take or need to take a flatbed load to support a customer, refrigerated, et cetera. We can really help step into that new mode offering. On the supplier side, there's also like what we see a lot of is dedicated startups, or new account startups, or phase outs. So if you have a group of trailers, you need to move into a location to start up an account or move out, is another one of the use cases where we see a lot of value.
Is this a way where, you can almost play the trailer market? And what I mean by that is when resale value is down, right? And that, like, obviously there's certain fleets of certain sizes that look to liquidate their assets every couple of years, but they don't want to take that much of a loss because the trailer is still like roadworthy and usable. It's just not what they want their fleet hauling. I'm assuming there's trucking companies out there that there's a certain age that equipment hits, they replace it, right? Every 5-10 years, whatever that looks like. Is this now giving them a way to kind of help save their balance sheet a little bit, as opposed to writing off massive losses in equipment, and then, hey, let's improve the life cycle of this asset for the next 4 years or whatever, see if the market recovers at all, to where they're not so beholden to making that knee-jerk reaction in the moment?
Absolutely. I mean, similar to I want to move, but I don't want to sell my house in this market, so I'm going to rent it out while I move to another house. Same kind of concept, right? I want to keep generating money on these assets until I wait till the ideal time to sell. Yep.
Are you guys ever like, would this be one of those ways? And I don't even know if there'd be a conflict of interest of doing something like this, where you guys at REPOWR could go into some of these enterprise shippers that require drop trailers and then rent these trailers directly to them to save overhead from some of these manufacturers?
Yeah, that gets into like the direction of like having a universal trailer network or getting to this approach. And so I think there is a future that could be seen in that. What that path looks like, to your point, is how do you make it ideal for the carriers and or the brokers, and that it makes sense for all parties, and what's that path look like. But yeah, I could see a world where and or even a technology solution to help manage trailer pools at a shipper or for a shipper could be a direction. So yeah, I think there's use cases there for sure. One of the things we just launched, we're in the process of kind of soft launching, is our trailer optimization platform that essentially helps large fleets manage their trailer pools and balance and optimize their trailer pools with manual support and or an automated solution, so that you can balance the trailer pools and then automatically post moves into the marketplace. So you can either manage what's getting posted, or it's automated based off of your surpluses or your deficits in certain regions. And so, stepping further into giving shipper or carriers these tools that they've historically managed in spreadsheets, right? Is they've had to could go in and say, oh, I'm short over here in so-and-so and have a surplus in Phoenix. And this helps to optimize that solution. So pretty excited about that.
Is this one of the biggest sunk costs, do you think, for fleets as they try and scale? Because it's like, I know a lot of, again, I've been doing this show a long time. I've been in this industry my entire life. I don't know any trucking company above a certain unit number, it might be 25 or 50, that doesn't start having 2 trailers to 1 truck, right? Because of a lot of these situations where, again, you worked on the asset side for a long time, and it's one of those situations where it's like, how do you balance that out, where you're making that capital investment to expand your fleet, but the customers might not be there yet from that demand. So it's like, how do you invest? And then, again, I'm like, risk mitigation to me is the name of the game in business, right? If you're going to go and invest any capital amount to buy trailers or buy equipment or buy, new drop yards across the country. That's why I'm so high on like a product like Truck Parking Club, right? Where it's like, dude, how many people go out there? They have to invest in this, but the demand's not there yet in that market. And it's a massive capital exposure to these business owners.
Absolutely. It's such a high capital expense. And it's like, that's the problem with asset trucking, is your expenses are so significant, and they're only increasing and growing, but yet the volatility of freight demand remains the same. And in turn, the cost volatility follows. And so costs only continue to increase and the capital expenditures continue to increase, but yet you have all these variables of not knowing how many shipments you're going to get. So I think this is, it's what we've really seen is the last unoptimized asset in transportation. And there's so much potential to improve that and to add flexibility to what companies can do on their books and on their P&L. It gives them flexibility to manage those variables more effectively, not only at the strategic level and customer startup and new customer lanes level, but then even at the load acceptance level. As soon as you decouple the truck from the driver to the trailer, those are the 3 variables you had to have in order to cover a load. As soon as you decouple those, where the truck and the driver don't have to be connected to the trailer, you increase your flexibility and in turn your efficiency. And so as you start to have options and optionality for those decisions, you naturally become more flexible, more efficient, but then you lower your costs.
I also, I look at this as well. You and I both operate in the real world, and there's so much. Again, you have these customers. So many sales reps go out there, or how many businesses? Just look at the Pareto principle. How many businesses are built around 1 or 2 core accounts? And that is the 90% of their revenue, right? Yep. And then obviously you want to lower that exposure out there in the market, but how many times do fleets buy 50 trailers for one specific customer, and then for whatever reason they lose that customer, and now that leads to bankruptcy, right? Because operating ratios are razor thin on the asset side of things. This, to me, this just is like one of those ways you can hedge your bet, right? Like, I'm not going to say it's going to fix everything, but that'll at least give you an opportunity to have some cash flow. And if you're in a really tough spot, I would assume you could go to your bank at that time and be like, hey, listen, I know my payment's $1,000. I'm generating $700 a month right now on this. How do we work this out, right? There's got to be something.
Absolutely. And it helps you expand where or you might be in the scenario where I want to add this customer, but I can't reallocate assets from this top customer. And so I'm not going to get that customer because I'm not going to buy more assets. So it helps in that scenario, as well as what you said, is helps you hedge your bets so you don't overcommit and buy assets for a new customer and then they go away or what have you. So yeah, it gives you a lot more flexibility from that standpoint and it reduces your risk drastically.
I think that's where the main upside is right now during what we're seeing out there in the market, right? Because it's like a lot of everybody wants to sit here and think like, oh, this is just going to be the way it's going to be for, forever now, right? There's just so much hinging on what could happen. And I like, because the biggest economic indicator I always pay attention to is this consumer credit card debt. That's at an all-time high right now. Loan delinquencies are increasing out there. So inevitably, people are going to stop purchasing certain goods out there, right? It's just natural that happens. And then once everything does get wrapped up in the Middle East, if it does, who knows? And if fuel prices drop back down for whatever reason, again, it could cause a drop in rates. I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen, but a lot of things can happen with that. And it's like you see this short-term increase in pricing. And, I'm sure there's a lot of carriers out there that they're welcome to it. They're probably paying off some debts that they've incurred for the last couple of years. But there's probably a lot of them out there who are like, hey, let's double down and triple down. Let's buy more equipment. Let's do this. This is going to be the way it's going to be for a while. Let's capitalize on this market. What you're talking about here, Todd, is I never even thought about it like that is, hey, maybe don't go buy those 50 extra trailers. Maybe rent. Maybe use one that's out there in the market, see how long this sustains. Because it's it's no longer a 12-month lease, right? You can go in there on a 30, 60, 90 day or however your guys' lease structures or short-term, long-term rentals are structured. But it's like this is that hedge to where you can see like, hey, is this going to sustain for as long as we would hope?
Yep. Are we going to continue to see this shift in this direction from a market? Because you see now it's interesting because it's always rates start to go up, we over add capacity, then rates start to go down because we added too much capacity. But it's like now there's these pressures being put on the small providers. And so there's barriers to entry. The big guys can add capacity. So that's one, thing. But now there's these pressures on barriers to entry for new carriers coming in. So that's going to limit how many people are going to be able to chase the blood in the water or the gold rush, so to speak. But the other component that I, as broker at heart, that I think is huge, that I always struggled to find ways to participate in drop trailer solutions, whether it was a project or it was in an RFP or it was a spot load or some type of an agreement. This helps and is so huge for brokers to be able to, and this is where I first got introduced to REPOWR, was back in my Q Carrier days when I was running Q Carriers, and I was like, this is such a good idea. Is being able to participate in drop trailer loads and go out and put together a trailer pool, utilize REPOWR to source trailing capacity for a commitment, an award, or a project for shippers, so you can actually start to execute on drop trailer freight, which is huge. It's it's something that brokers have been trying to do for years, and they've had success in some working with partner carriers or what have you. But this gives them even more flexibility.
No, that's it, right? It is, as somebody on the brokerage side of things who's trying to grow their business, and access to capital might not be as easy as because everybody on the internet makes it look so easy just to raise $100 million.
Yes.
No kidding.
And you have tons of companies like Amazon and others that are doing power only moves.
Yep.
So what does the driver do when they get to the destination? Well, now you can utilize a REPOWR trailer to get a backhaul load and come back. You can also mode switch. I mean, if you wanted to if you could get a higher paying load on a flatbed this week versus a reefer, you could start to mode switch and find other shipments as well when necessary.
Yeah, no, I get it, man. I like what you guys are doing. in the market. I've been high on this repositioning thing for a while now, and I think it's just you always have to constantly looking like where's the industry going? How do we evolve? How do we make money? Right? Like at the end of the day, because it's such a capital intensive industry, especially on the trucking side of things. I understand it's more expensive to run a truck than it is a brokerage. I get it, but I also look at it as man, you got to look at when you're going out there and investing, whether it's in property or equipment. How do you stop the bleed for when there's idle times out there? And, again, man, you've seen it, you've lived it. And, I've seen it a long time. It's like, it's easy to sit here and operate in a perfect world. But if there's any idle days, months, or quarters where your equipment's sitting there, man, you got to get that out there into the market and get some revenue coming in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dude, I love it. Todd, thank you so much for your time. How does anybody reach out to you to find out more about what you guys got going on?
Yeah, you can find us at repower.com. I'm on LinkedIn, and then it's easy. It's Todd at repower.com. Repower without the second E. REPOWR.
Dude, I love it. Todd, thank you so much. If you guys can't find Todd or REPOWR, hit me up. I will gladly put you guys in contact with them. That is going to be it for today, ladies and gentlemen. As always, if you got value in what you heard and you're not subscribed, subscribe to the show, you guys. And if you're feeling ambitious, rank it on iTunes and Spotify, because if you see value, your network's going to see it as well. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. And we'll be talking to you soon. My computer. Goddamn, I'm not a tech guy. Came back with a bang.